It's another week, and sure enough, the gift that keeps on giving, we have another bill that's aimed at benefiting first-time homebuyers this year. So once again today, I'm going to be talking about exactly what you need to know about this bill, what it is, who can qualify, and what you can actually get out of it. Coming up. Hey, what's up guys, it's Katon, your millennial mortgage lender, and on this channel, I help people just like you learn how to buy their first home and navigate the mortgage process. As always, if at any point there in the video you've got a question, make sure you leave it in the comments down below. Links to anything that I mentioned will always be in the description along with the timestamps for anything that I'm talking about. With that out of the way, let's just jump right on into it. Now, as I mentioned on the last video, we originally heard rumors of a $15,000 tax credit for first-time homebuyers, which was then basically transformed into a $25,000 grant for first-generation homebuyers. Well, good news for first-time homebuyers, now you don't just have one bill on the table for you guys, you now have two, and this one's the basically original bill that was proposed, the $15,000 First-Time Homebuyer Act. As opposed to the $25,000 Down Payment Towards Equity Act, this isn't going to be a grant that you can actually use at closing to help you with like your down payment and your closing costs. Instead, this is going to be more or less a refund that you're going to get come tax season. And as I mentioned in the last video, the biggest hurdle for most people to actually go out and buy a home is that lack of a down payment. Now, while yes, there are a ton of down payment assistance programs out there, as we've also talked about, not a lot of them are great and end up costing you a lot more money. All right, now that's out of the way, let's get into what this is and how you can actually use it. So what the tax credit is, it's gonna be a tax credit for up to either 10% of the purchase price or $15,000. I'm assuming it's gonna be up to that $15,000 mark because people buying much more expensive homes could probably get a lot more. Now, good news for people who've already bought their home this year, it sounds like you can actually take advantage of this bill even if it's signed into law after you bought your home. Taxpayers can actually choose to claim the purchase of their home on their previous year's tax returns, even if they bought it during the calendar year. So for example, if you bought a home in 2022, you could actually claim the purchase of that home for purposes of getting this tax credit on your 2021 tax returns so that you would get that money sooner versus having to wait a full calendar year to file your taxes. So I actually think that's a bigger win because this will actually help out a lot of the people who already purchased their home, especially coming out of one of the roughest housing markets that we've had right now. So overall, while I don't like the fact that it's not money that you can use to help you buy a home, I do like the fact that it will be more or less retroactive for people who already bought their home this year. All right, so how are you actually going to be able to qualify for this tax credit? Well, as the name implies, you have to be a first-time homebuyer, which means you haven't owned a home in the last 3 years. And as with any good first-time homebuyer program, there are going to be income limitations. And this one's actually pretty reasonable. As the bill is currently written, the income limit for this particular tax credit is going to be up to 160% of the AMI, regardless of if it's in a high cost living area or not, which I think is a pretty good balance because with the Down Payments Towards Equity Act, it had an income limit of 120 AMI and 180 for high cost of living areas. So 160 still helps address those high cost of living areas while still making it accessible to a majority of the nation. Now, on top of the income limitation, there's also gonna be a limit on the purchase price of the home that you're actually gonna be able to claim. So once again, as the bill currently is written, that limit is going to be up to 110% of the area median purchase price for that particular area where you bought the home. Now, what's interesting about that is it doesn't state whether or not that's median purchase price for a condo, a manufactured home, or a single family home. That's for area median purchase price across the board. So for high cost of living areas like here in San Diego, for people buying condos, you're more or less going to be able to qualify as long as you still meet that income limit. Overall, I think it's a decent bill, and I think it's nice that we're going to have at least one of these probably get signed into law at the end of the day. Now, which one do I prefer? I would actually probably prefer the Down Payment Towards Equity Act get signed into law with some modifications, of course, as I mentioned. But hey, it wouldn't hurt to have an extra $15,000 in my pocket either, so I actually think it would be great to see some form of both of these bills pass into law. Now, that being said, obviously we still have the issue of inventory. We are facing probably the most insane housing shortage that the nation's ever seen. I mean, currently the price of lumber is absolutely skyrocketing, so you're gonna start seeing the price to actually build a home greatly increase. But at the same time, people are buying, resale homes for much higher than new construction homes right now for the first time in American history, because people are desperate and getting a home right now. They can't wait the 6 to 8 months for it to be built. And the combination of both of these bills being passed into law without some sort of incentive to either stop the limitations on new constructions or figure out some sort of incentives for builders to start building more homes and sellers to start selling more homes without addressing those inventory shortages, these bills mean nothing because it'll just cause more of a shortage overall. But I'd love to hear what you guys think about these. What do you think is going to be the most beneficial? Which one do you actually think is going to get passed into law? I always love hearing your guys' thoughts and any questions that you might have about your particular financial situation on how this applies to you buying a home this year. But anyways, guys, here's a few more videos that I think you guys are going to enjoy, especially if you're a first-time home buyer this year. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out with the algorithm. And if you want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button. It means a lot to me. But until the next one, guys, see ya.